Imagine the desert, a vast canvas of barren earth where life barely clings to existence. In this arid realm, the Persian Qanat, a man-made underground river, emerged as a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. What makes the Qanat possible is that the water table is not uniform, and in the mountains the level of underground water sometimes sits higher up than the surface level of the valleys. A Qanat is essentially a gently sloping tunnel dug into a hillside that collects water from a high point of the water table and carries it to a lower elevation. The system is gravity-based, it does not require any external energy. A series of vertical shafts, visible from the surface, are dug at regular intervals along the Qanat's path. These shafts serve multiple purposes. They provide ventilation of the air, keeping the water clean, and allow for easy maintenance and cleaning of the channel. The genius of the Qanat is that being dug underground, it minimizes water loss to evaporation, a critical feature in arid regions. Its flow is also not impacted by dry and wet years, providing a stable source of water. The earliest evidence of Qanats dates back 3000 years to ancient Iran. This technology, simple yet elegant, was a significant factor in the growth of large agricultural civilizations in the area. From there, the technology spread rapidly across the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, and eventually to parts of Spain. The invention of the Qanat had a profound impact on desert communities. It allowed for the creation of stable, permanent settlements in areas that were previously uninhabitable due to a lack of reliable water. The constant supply of fresh water enabled the development of large-scale agriculture, supporting crops like dates, grains, and fruits, which in turn fostered economic growth and population increases. The construction and maintenance of these systems required a high degree of social organization and cooperation. Communities had to work together to dig the tunnels and establish a fair system for water distribution, which often led to the development of sophisticated water rights laws. Ultimately, the Qanat is more than just an engineering marvel. It was a cornerstone of civilization in arid lands, making life possible and prosperous where it once was not. Today, a big part of the Middle Eastern and North African population still rely on the Qanat system. Many of the settlements in these arid regions have been established there, particularly because a Qanat could be built to provide water. In 1874, Joseph Gliddon invented the barbed wire, an efficient way of fencing parcels of land. Little did he know that this seemingly small invention would revolutionize life on an entire continent. Before barbed wire, the American West was defined by open range. Cowboys drove massive herds of cattle across vast, unfenced plains, relying on a shared access system for grazing and water. Homesteaders and farmers who wanted to settle in the West faced a huge problem: how to protect their crops from roaming cattle. Traditional fencing materials like wood and stone were scarce on the treeless prairies. Building fences was incredibly expensive and labor-intensive, making it economically unfeasible for most settlers. As a result, property rights were difficult to enforce, and conflicts between cattlemen and farmers were common. The Devil's Rope, as it was soon called, provided a physical barrier that was strong enough to contain cattle and painful enough to deter them. This allowed rangers to manage their herds more efficiently and gave farmers a way to protect their fields. It quickly brought an end to the tradition of open-range grazing and the era of the cowboy as we know it from Western films and folklore. By providing a practical way to define and defend property boundaries, barbed wire fundamentally changed property rights in the West. It made the land a more secure and valuable asset, encouraging settlement and agricultural investment. This transition was not peaceful. Small-scale ranchers and cowboys who relied on the open range fiercely resisted the fencing of the plains. This led to fence wars, where armed groups of fence cutters tore down miles of wire, leading to violent confrontations and a period of lawlessness. Eventually, laws were passed to protect fenced land, and the era of the open range came to an end. Its military applications were quickly realized, and it played a major role in the trench warfare of World War I, where miles of it were used to slow down enemy advances in no man's land. Today, it is still a common sight around military bases, prisons, and other high-security areas. The invention of canning came directly from a military problem. In the late 18th century, Napoleon Bonaparte's armies were constantly hampered by a lack of fresh food. His soldiers often suffered from scurvy and other illnesses caused by poor nutrition on long campaigns. To solve this, the French government offered a 12,000 franc prize to anyone who could devise a new method of preserving food for the military. An ingenious confectioner and brewer named Nicolas Appert took up the challenge. After years of experimentation, he discovered that if he sealed food in a glass bottle with an airtight cork and then boiled the bottle, the food inside would not spoil. He was awarded a prize in 1810 for his method, which he published in a book. It completely changed how armies and navies were supplied. Soldiers could now be provisioned with nutritious food that would last for months, allowing for longer campaigns and global military expeditions. But this was only the beginning. Before canning, cities could only grow as large as the surrounding agricultural land could support. Canning allowed food to be harvested in rural areas and transported long distances to feed growing urban populations. This was a critical factor in the Industrial Revolution and the rise of modern cities. Canned food was a lifesaver for sailors and explorers. It allowed for long sea voyages, Arctic expeditions, and the establishment of colonies in far-flung corners of the world, as explorers no longer had to rely on hunting or scavenging for food. By making nutritious food available year-round, canning helped to combat malnutrition and diseases like scurvy. It also made food much safer, as it killed the microorganisms responsible for spoilage and illness. Canning laid the groundwork for the modern, multi-billion-dollar food industry. The invention of the tin can, which was patented shortly after Appert's glass jar method, and later innovations in can manufacturing and sterilization, made the process even more efficient and affordable. The compass was invented in China, and for much of its early history, it was used for divination. By the 11th century, during the Song dynasty, the compass was widely adopted for maritime navigation, significantly enhancing sea travel. The first mention of the compass in the West was by Alexander Neckham, an English monk in the late 12th century. The invention of the compass had a profound impact on the world, shaping navigation, trade, and exploration in ways that are still felt today. The compass allowed sailors to determine their direction even in poor visibility conditions such as fog or overcast skies. This capability was crucial for long-distance sea travel. With improved navigation, maritime trade routes expanded significantly. Merchants could travel further and more safely, leading to increased trade between distant lands and the growth of economies. The compass played a vital role during the Age of Discovery, enabling explorers like Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama to venture into uncharted waters, leading to the discovery of new continents and sea routes. The ability to navigate accurately contributed to the development of more precise geographic maps. This advancement helped in understanding the world better and laid the groundwork for modern cartography. As explorers traveled to new lands, they facilitated cultural exchanges between different civilizations, leading to the sharing of ideas, technologies, and goods. The compass also had military applications, allowing navies to navigate effectively during conflicts, which was crucial for the expansion of empires. In summary, the compass was not just a tool for navigation, it was a catalyst for global change, influencing trade, exploration, and cultural interactions. The story of crop rotation is less about a single eureka moment and more about the gradual development of a fundamental agricultural principle. For most of human history, farming was a constant battle against diminishing returns. Planting the same crop in the same field year after year, a practice known as monoculture, quickly depleted the soil of its nutrients, especially nitrogen. This led to lower crop yields and eventually made the land unusable. The only solution was to leave fields unplanted for a year or more to let the soil naturally recover. This meant that farmers could only use a portion of their land at any given time, limiting food production and keeping societies on the brink of famine. Crop rotation is the simple but brilliant solution. Farmers discovered that by systematically changing the crops they planted in a field each year, they could avoid depleting the soil and even replenish its nutrients. The classic example is the tree-field system that became widespread in medieval Europe. This cycle meant that one year the field was planted with a winter cereal like wheat or rye, then the next year with a spring cereal or legumes like peas or beans. Legumes have a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that fix nitrogen from the air into the soil, acting as a natural fertilizer. And in the third years, the land would be left unplanted to recover. This system was a massive improvement over the older two-field system. It meant that 2/3 of the land was productive at any given time rather than just half. The ultimate innovation came with the Norfolk four-course rotation in the 18th century, a key development of the British agricultural revolution. It added turnips and clover to the rotation, which not only fixed nitrogen but also provided a food source for livestock during the winter. This allowed farmers to keep more animals, which in turn produced more manure for fertilizer, creating a virtuous cycle of increased productivity. By increasing food production and making it more reliable, crop rotation helped to break the cycle of subsistence farming and constant food shortages. This allowed for population growth on a scale never before possible. With a surplus of food, not everyone was needed on the farm. This freed up labor to move to cities and work in factories, fueling the Industrial Revolution. Crop rotation laid the scientific groundwork for understanding soil health, plant nutrition, and sustainable farming. It demonstrated that by working with natural processes rather than against them, humans could achieve incredible agricultural efficiency. The increased production of legumes and livestock feed meant that people's diets became more diverse and nutritious. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a like and subscribe.